Susan, welcome to the show. How can I help you?
Hi, thanks for having me. Well,
Sure.
I had a situation. I work at a library, and for the most part, everyone's really cool. We have a policy where you can check out a book twice, and then you have to bring it back physically and return it, and then we have to put it on the shelf technically, but usually we just turn around and give it back to patrons if they want it. And we had a gentleman come in, a little bit older, probably 60s, 70s, Russian, had a very thick accent. We have a very high Russian population where I work, and I'm Asian. And when I said to him, hey, he wanted to renew the book, he didn't have it with him. I said, hey, you've hit your limit. Can you bring the book back in? And then I can, check it back in, check it back out, and give it to you. That's the policy. And he started getting really belligerent with me, and he was like, I cannot understand you. You are from China. And I'm like, no, I'm from the States. I was born in the United States, But he just kept going there and being like, you're from China, I can't understand you, because I wasn't giving him what he wanted. And my coworker, who's also Asian, was just sitting there and watching the exchange. This guy's getting really loud in a library so everyone can hear him. Yeah. And it wasn't until the librarian who was on charge that night came over, and she also happens to be Russian. They were talking, and she's like, no, she's telling you the policy, she's not wrong, this is what you have to do. The guy stomped out of the library, and he came back in 10, 20 minutes later with the book. And obviously he had it in his car. It was just really uncomfortable, and I felt like everyone just kind of left me high and dry. A patron came up later and was like, wow, he was really being a jerk, wasn't he? And I'm like, yeah, but I didn't know what to do.
So you had a coworker with you who you felt like wasn't supporting you in that moment, and so you kind of felt all alone dealing with someone who was making it about your ethnicity and making it very uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and, he was also Asian, so I understand why he didn't want to get involved, but it was like, you're also on the front lines with me. Support me,
Yeah. You wanted some support. And did you feel, when the other person came in, did you feel supported by her?
I mean, yes, because she was saying she's right, she's not telling you the wrong policy, but at the same time, I kind of just wish they would have just kicked him out of the library because he was being such a jerk. She was being nice to him, and I understood, he was probably being nice to her because they were both Russian. You know what I mean? I just kind of wish that she was like, you know what? Yeah. Go away for 24 hours and we'll help you tomorrow, kind of thing.
Is the person that came up, was she your manager?
She wasn't the head boss, but when the head boss isn't there, then the other librarians are the people in charge.
Okay, so she was in charge of the library at that moment.
At that moment, yeah.
Was there any sort of debriefing with her or with anyone else after, just to check in with you, see how you're feeling or anything like that?
No, I actually never reported the incident to the actual manager.
You didn't feel that was necessary?
I mean, it worked out.
So in the future, your preference would be for you to feel like you've got more support in that moment and that they're kind of standing up for you more?
I would have loved that. Yeah. I would have loved for someone to just kind of push him out the door and be like, come back tomorrow,
Yeah. Is there any kind of protocol for things like that? Does the library have any protocol for what happens when a customer gets unruly or something?
I mean, a lot of our unruly issues tend towards, because we're in a city, so we tend to have more homeless population issues or something like that, but we don't really have racial tension training, I guess. I don't know what you'd call it.
A lot of times people avoid these situations because they don't really know what to do. They don't have the tools to do it. So you're your colleague may not have known what to do. And so he was kind of hesitant to get involved, and he wasn't sure what the right thing to do because the library has not been clear on what some of the particular protocols or even tools to how to deal with this sort of thing. You haven't gotten any of that training. You haven't gotten any of those protocols, right?
No.
If you felt unsupported and you feel like there's something that could change, what I might suggest is, I don't know how long ago this was, but if it's been a long time, you could still you don't have to report it, but you could still bring it up in a conversation, or you could see if it happens again and, see what the outcome is next time. But either way, if you want something to change, you kind of have to give some feedback to the leadership of the library or whatever department handles these types of issues, and just let them know what happened and maybe give them some suggestions like, hey, maybe we should get some training on how to deal with some of these issues. Hey, maybe we should have some clarity on what the protocol is when someone gets unruly or insults someone and, uses race or ethnicity as a way of insulting someone. What do we do? What's the protocol? Empower us as the team on the floor to be able to do something differently next time so that I and other team members feel supported. So, I mean, I don't know if that's possible, but is that something you would think about doing, is potentially giving some of that feedback to the library in some way?
I think they'd be open to it. Yeah.
I think they'd probably want to know. I mean, I would assume. I don't know.
I would hope so. We support a very diverse population.
From the libraries that I've worked with, They seem very open-minded to working with all kinds of different populations, to hearing how people are feeling. They're usually a little bit, their emotional IQ is a little bit higher than the typical corporate workplace. So it's very possible that they will receive the feedback and maybe start thinking about putting in some different types of policies or protocols or something for people to feel that they have that they're empowered enough to support each other in some way when those sort of things happen.
That's a good idea. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that's helpful. How long has it been since that incident occurred?
It was actually several years ago.
Oh, okay. Are you still at the same library?
No, I've switched since then. And we also kind of chalked it up to, without getting too political, we were a polling site, and it was a very, very charged year.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So if you can think back in history, you might understand what was happening at the time.
Of course. And are you at a different library now, or?
Yes.
Is there any kind of protocol in place now if that sort of thing happens at the new library?
I mean, like I said, when we get training, it's across all the branches, but this is a different population because it's a different, area of town. So it doesn't really come up as much.
Maybe it's not an issue here, but, just a thought, if there's ever an opportunity to give feedback to the people that lead the library, at least the branch where you're at, maybe it's worth just mentioning, hey, this happened to me in the past, just putting it out there. It could be helpful to have some clarity on what we do in the future if this happens again. And clarity meaning like it's written somewhere and we give some tools to people that work with each other and so people feel supported if this should ever happen again.
I like that. Thank you.
Well, hopefully that was helpful. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much for having me and listening to my issue. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Susan. Hey, thanks for tuning into the Peace Building with Dr. Pollack show. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more workplace conflict advice. Share on social media if you think your friends and colleagues would benefit from this episode. And if you have a workplace conflict and want to be a caller on our show for free coaching and advice, please email podcast@pollackpeacebuilding.com. Thanks.